Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Plague Inc. Evolved, the early access Plague Simulator Windows version of the popular Android game. First things first, let me ask everybody to turn off any ad blockers, help me make a career. Last episode we talked about smallpox, a success in vaccination, one of the only two, I forgot to mention this, eradicated diseases, or considered eradicated diseases that we have on this planet. Today we're going to play on as Fungus. Now I went, same as how I looked up smallpox, I went and googled famous funguses. And you know, there just aren't really any. Fungus is pretty much, in reality, not likely to be a disease that's going to be really terrible, that is going to really eliminate all life on Earth. So you kind of have to play along with the fungus. We're going to use our new suppression thing, see if that helps any, particularly with the fungus. If it does, that would be great. Fungus have a terrible time crossing borders. There is one, to go from one disease that caught my eye, fungal disease. It's called white noise syndrome. Syndrome. I believe that's spelled right. And white noise syndrome is a newly discovered disease in North America. Oh, if we're going to start in North America, do we always have to start in the United States? No, we don't. We can start in Mexico. Where fungus grows on the skin and causes lesions, and it kills a lot of it causes a lot of victims, kills them. Now, of course, you think, I've never heard of white noise syndrome. If it's such a terrible disease, why haven't I heard of it? And why is it called white noise syndrome? Well, it kills and infects bats. That's right. You can't even find that a really big fungal disease that really affects people. Now there is one called barber's itch that I couldn't find any information on, because when you click on barber's itch in Wikipedia, there's 3 different conditions, all different and unrelated, that take on the term barber's itch. Which, okay, so I moved to white noise syndrome. So this fungus grows in the soil of caves. Seems to be sometimes brought in by bats and infected bats, sometimes brought in by humans on their clothing, shoes and such, and spread from cave to cave. So if you were a caver or a spelunker or whatever, you need to be aware of it and be careful not to spread it. And then it grows around the wings and the mouths, I believe, of the bats, and leaves a whitish appearance. Thus, white noise. Also, the pun is a pretty good pun. The bats do use subsonic sounds to detect where they're going, so it's a pretty good pun. I will grant them that. And they don't know a lot about it, so I don't think I can really talk too much about white noise syndrome. I could probably talk more about white noise as a sound. Yeah, I can definitely do that. We're gonna have to speed up the game first though, because I'm gonna run out of stuff to talk about. White noise is usually a low volume and low frequency, just high. See, one of the problems of sound is that the way it's visualized in most programs is wrong. The waves give a lot of people the impression that in recording software that the waves are measuring the frequency, which is not true, or it shouldn't be true a lot of times. And instead, what the waves are actually measuring is the amplitude of the frequencies. So I don't think any recording software that would be generally used can actually go to the exact frequencies of can show you that. Well, they can definitely modify that. Speed things up and slowing it down is one way of adjusting the frequencies of or adjusting the tempo is one way of adjusting the frequencies. White noise is usually a high frequency at a low thing. It is often used to create noise for humans to hear, so they don't get that sensation that they are in a completely noiseless room. People often feel disconcerted when there's no sound whatsoever. Me personally, I don't have that problem because I have the problem of my ears are just too good. Unless they happen to be clogged up with earwax, which occasionally happens, I can hear all the noise everywhere for about, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 blocks in every direction of the room I'm in. So I can hear the noise that my neighbors are making, if it's loud enough. Now I can't like hear them whispering in their rooms or anything, but I can hear a loud enough noise outside. So I hear dogs barking and things like that. So white noise wouldn't really help me until I started to turn it really loud to the point where it could drown out everything else. And sometimes white noise is used to drown out. White noise for bats, to get back to white noise syndrome, probably would confuse them a lot and hurt their ability to fly around. So it would probably be a mean and potentially a deadly joke to play on the bat to put like a white noise machine in their cave. They may get stuck in the cave and starve to death. You know, bats have a natural predator that most people don't know. Centipedes and millipedes, I think it's actually probably just millipedes, but maybe both, love to crawl around the roofs of caves and eat bats. And you think, how can a millipede kill a bat? Well, millipedes are poisonous. They have cyanide inside of them, so you can't eat them. Never try to eat a millipede or a centipede. You'd have to be very desperate to even have that thought. But let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 uninfected countries. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There we go. So that should infect every single country. Now, this left. Nope, went too fast. I missed one. Morocco is the only country not infected, and I imagine that will change by itself just fine. So they also have millipedes, or I'll just call them millipedes, have powerful crushing jaws, and they can also constrict and wrap around bats. So they wait for the bats to go to sleep, I would bet, or maybe sometimes they don't wait, and then they just go and totally wrap around them and start biting them, and it just becomes this kind of wrestling match, and then they start eating them. So you would think about bats that can swoop in and... No, that's hawks. Hawks eat. Bats eat flies mostly. Bats are actually great. Yeah, you want bats. You probably don't want a million of them living right next to your house, but because they will get confused and try and buzz you sometimes. I was actually once attacked by a bat that got confused and potentially had rabies. They do carry rabies. Bats are much like squirrels, which are actually just much like rats. They're all rodents, and you definitely don't want pretty much any rodent in your life. Yeah, maybe a gerbil, but people have pet rats too. You don't want a rodent in your life that you don't know where it's been. Let me put it that way. If it's a pet and you know it's been inoculated and everything, you're fine. But otherwise, you want to stay away from it. But you do want bats in your cities. They eat mosquitoes by thousands. Thousands and thousands of mosquitoes every night. Not every day, not every week or anything. They eat thousands of mosquitoes every night. And eating all those mosquitoes cuts down on the possibility of humans getting so many diseases and spreading so many diseases. That you want bats as much as possible. Sweating mutated. So, white noise syndrome here must have mutated. It cannot affect humans as far as we know. They know so little about this disease since it was just discovered in 2006. I don't know if I said that. So they really don't know a lot. They're studying it. It seems to be 100% effective. Any of the bats that test positive for the fungus absolutely develop lesions, and it does kill. I don't think it's 100% lethal, but it might be. We've had a nuclear explosion in Canada. They nuked Canada to save the bats. How nice of them. Canada is in anarchy over white noise syndrome. I would like to see white noise syndrome actually cause white noise. That would be tinnitus in the ears. People hear ringing in their ears all the time for multiple reasons. It's not uncommon to just have it happen for no real reason to worry about. But if you do listen to something too loud and you have ringing in your ears, you probably have done some damage to your ears at that point, and you need to, for the rest of your life, never listen to anything that loud ever again. People need to be really careful about their hearing. Once it goes, it pretty much never comes back. I've not seen any real cure or treatment for it, short of installing cochlear implants or installing hearing aids, which just makes things louder and doesn't really do a great job about modulating the frequencies in a way that you can understand or clearly hear people. The technology gets better and better, but it is also a very limited field of technology development that is kind of monopolized by a few companies. So it's not really that great. So don't lose your hearing if you can. You definitely don't want to go completely deaf. You definitely don't have to try and learn sign language. Particularly the older you get, it's harder and harder for people to learn things. I used to audio reinforce, which is basically, I used to run a soundboard for presentations, and white noise can be a major problem when you're doing that, the actual white noise, not white noise syndrome, although if a bat showed up in the middle of a performance, that it would be a bit of a problem. Although sometimes it doesn't really matter. Birds do show up on presentations and they just fly around and don't do anything. Maybe poop on one or two people's heads. But you don't want white noise, because white noise can make it less clear. It can feed back on itself and be unnoticed, not as noticed. You probably won't get a major amount of feedback depending on your setup just from white noise, but it can certainly be a problem. And how I would try to eliminate it would be to find the source of it and get rid of it. Often you would get white noise if air conditioners or things are coming on, and that's a bit of a problem because you have to prioritize the comfort of the audience over their ability to hear perfectly. You cannot say to somebody, leave the air conditioner off so I can record a perfect recording of this audio, or so I can play back the perfect presentation of this audio. It just doesn't work that way. This is also one of the reasons why I don't like to listen to live performances of a lot of music. You get a lot of white noise in live performances of just people coughing and moving their feet on the floor, shuffling their feet, and all kinds of things. But really, it goes beyond the realm of actual white noise into just regular noise, because when people will sing along, you'll hear all kinds of things. It is amazingly not the way I prefer to listen to music. Some live performances, though, do always have that bit of randomness, or because the person is singing it a different way than they sung it in the booth, and some live performances, just because they sung it better, or they played it better, they played the instruments better, are preferred by me, but it's a rare case. Most of the time I prefer a recording studio that's been insulated. Right now I'm not recording in any kind of soundproofed room, and so white noise probably is coming up in these recordings every now and then. Can't really do anything about it. I do try to help it out, and I do the thing I just said you can't really do. I turn off all fans and air conditioners and such, so that, well, fans at least. I don't sit there and turn my air conditioner on and off, but I do that to reduce the potential white noise or just regular noise while recording. And I listen to myself. Definitely need to get like a pop filter, definitely need to get a better microphone. So much needs to be done there as far as better audio. One of the things, the tricks that you don't really recognize about audio, since I don't have anything to say about white noise syndrome really, other than don't go into caves and then go into another cave with the same clothes. Because we don't want to spread this fungus and we don't want to lose our bats. If we kill off our bats, humans are gonna get infected with all kinds of diseases. But what was I saying? There are some sneaky tricks that audio engineers and particularly radio hosts do, so they will lower the frequency of how they sound and make themselves sound a little bit better than they actually do in real life. And I would definitely like to play with that and try to get that radio announcer voice. It's a setting in a lot of equipment called the big boom, I think is what it's called, that they turn that up and it makes you sound a little bit lower like this, and make you sound a little bit more affirmative and stronger personality, which can subconsciously affect people's perception of a voice. Anyways, white noise syndrome got rid of all of the planet. This is a new disease. Would we ever vaccinate bats? Absolutely, as soon as we have a vaccine. It would be kind of hard to vaccinate them from a fungus, but what we would more likely do is go into caves and spray the area with antifungal agents, and then basically decontaminate the caves and the bats. But it took us 1,389 days, so a pretty low score of 2,050 with one thing. But it's a fungal disease and it takes a while. If you win it all with a fungal disease, you're ahead of the curve. Cure progress got to 85%. We weren't even really paying attention to it, and that's on casual. Got rid of everybody. So we did it. White noise syndrome. And that unlocked extremophile, which is a very good gene modification for the Norax worm next time. Extremophile is now a minor bonus in all environments. So it is arid, humid, rural, and urban. All of those get a minor bonus versus one of these getting a regular bonus. So definitely want to use Extremophile as our options. We have all of our evolution genes unlocked. We have all of our environment genes unlocked. We are missing one travel gene, and we are missing nothing else. Oh, there's, speaking of white noise, there's my air conditioner. Leave me a comment if you can hear that, or you can just hear me talking about it. It is pretty noisy right now. So maybe I'll stop recording while that decides to run and not do another episode until it goes off again. Anyways, we are done with this episode. You learned something new, I would bet, with white noise syndrome. It was something new to me. There really aren't any real fungal diseases that really spread. People can get funguses on their skins and it causes kind of spots and such, but it's not really anything. Athlete's foot. that's a fungal disease. I should do an episode called Athlete's Foot. Well, if we ever play the fungus disease again, which we might not, we will call it Athlete's Foot. That is a fungal disease, and the treatment for that is basically spraying a drying powder and keeping it dry and clean. And it's not too bad. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps me out with YouTube. If you want to support me through fan funding, click on my name, Rydo. On the right there will be a button, a blue button that says support. Any amount you can donate will be greatly appreciated. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Google Plus or friend me on Steam or Battle.net, all that information is down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.